Welcome back to Andertons TV, everybody. The wonderful Danish Pete is with me today again.
Hello.
So this is a video about a pedal company called 29 Pedals, tiny company. I think it may even just be one guy in California. And his original pedal was this EUNA here, which he designed as a sort of a buffer pedal, but with a couple of interesting features to combat the sort of signal loss that you get when you've got lots of cables and pedals and stuff on your board. So most of you, most of us even, you're probably not even aware that there's much signal loss going on. But the first sound that we're going to show you today is a single 20-foot cable, so like 6 meters of cable.
6 meters cable,
guitar into DP40. Here's the sound.
Here's a G. That's it.
Fine. There'll be a tiny piece of signal loss here, but you know, really, how else are you supposed to plug your guitar in unless you've got a cable, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing is by plugging into here.
And me plugging into here.
What we've now done, and again, I'll explain what these Lella switching boxes are doing. What we've now done is kind of increased the amount of cable to maybe more like 50 foot. So let's have a listen to.
And here's a cut from before. We'll cut that in now. I'm back. You can hear the before was much brighter. It's taken so much top end off.
And that's without even having any pedals in the run. If we switch over to A here, what we're now doing is the signal is now routing through these pedals, which aren't even switched on at the moment. So A and B should sound much the same.
I mean, in my ears, they sound.
There might be a marginal difference because it is different cables and stuff. But hopefully that's now demonstrating the idea that, and think of the average guitar player, 20-foot cable from your guitar to your pedal board, another few feet of cables and pedals, and then 20 foot from your pedal board to your guitar amplifier. It's pretty easy to do 50 feet of
Absolutely.
cable.
And I think people, sorry to interrupt, having lots of true bypass pedals after each other just lose signal on the way because nothing is in between to push the signal through. You know what I mean?
So a buffer is a pedal that is a mains powered pedal that goes in your circuit somewhere. I don't think it matters whether it goes at the start or the beginning, but at the moment we've got it here as the sort of the first pedal it hits after the switches. And it's designed to counteract, if you like, the loss of that signal. So if I now switch this on, you'll start to hear what just a simple buffer does. And maybe what we should do, let's cut that very first thing in where Pete just had the 20-foot cable. So here's that. And here. So hopefully that's a bit more sort of balanced. Now the EUNA has a couple of cool features, right? The first thing is it has these three kind of extras, if you like, which is harmonics, brightness, and lows. And these are just, the guys kind of tuned this in to just, it's not radical. It's just like, I just want that, just a little sprinkle of niceness on there. And he's also done a clever thing with the effects loop, which I'll tell you about, the effects loop within the pedals. So let's just see what it starts to sound like with some of these switches in gate.
And then go back to straight through all the cables, and then back to the other bit. I mean, John Mayer uses one, for God's sake.
Yes, I mean, hence the reason why we first sort of saw the 29 pedals when John Mayer had the EUNA on his board. For me, it's like you find your setting that you like on here, and it's just always on.
Yeah.
Or is it always on? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, the fuzz pedal aficionados out there will tell you that they don't like a buffered signal into their fuzz pedal. They just like, and some wah-wahs as well, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah. So some people are just like, I don't want the buffer on when I'm using my fuzz. So that's the point of the effects loop here. Yeah. You leave your fuzz pedal always on, and then what happens is when I switch this off, we engage the effects loop, and then when I switch it back on, we disengage the effects loop and we go through the buffered signal. Yeah. So,
so this is how I run it as well, actually, when I run on my board. So, yeah.
So that's
brilliant, isn't it?
That's the EUNA.
Can I just point something out here? The inputs on the current says whatever.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the voltage input is
up to like 37, whatever.
Yeah, you can have an underpowered power supply, an overpowered one, whatever, as long as I guess the connector is the right size.
Really clever.
So that was the first one, and as I said, anything that John Mayer puts on his board, all of a sudden you see the Andertons website go ding, ding, ding,
he
ding,
did
ding.
actually put it on after. I've got one.
You got one first? Yeah. Next thing you're going to be telling me that you started to dress like John Mayer before
I did, but
well.
it was I'm 5 years behind here.
So the 29 OAMP came out more recently. I think that was last year.
Yeah.
It might have been beginning of this year. And this is essentially a kind of based on the EUNA, or a little bit like the EUNA. So it does the buffering like the EUNA does it. It's got the effects loop like the EUNA does it. But it's also an output amp as well, so it's got some boost and some gain in here. So I'm just looking at the controls here. We've got presence, level, 3 stages of sort of input and output gain. The switches here on the input section say you've got settings for a high, low and bright mode. And then on the output stage, you've got settings for a low, high, and a dark mode. So let's just have a little listen here. Now, I'm not going to bother putting the pedal pawn fuzz back in again. I'm just going to hear what this sounds like as a pedal on its own. So let's start with everything fairly sort of low and level.
Need a bit more,
that's
so
bypass. So I guess we're really not doing a great deal other than just buffering.
Yeah, so just buffer the signal and making sure that it's nice and clear.
Yep, and let's see where we can go from here then. So.
Fattens it up, doesn't it? Wow.
So we're driving the input stage here between, this is where low, so we're not driving the input stage really, or adding some brightness but not really driving it versus driving it.
It's like old school, isn't it?
Yeah. And then if I start to play with the output section and move that between high and drive, I guess we're just going to get even more, right?
Wow.
Apologies, DR doesn't stand for drive, it's dark. I did say.
Dark.
So yeah, so you've got...
But that's confusing.
Yeah, it does a little bit, isn't it? So you've got two like I guess a high output stage and then a dark high output stage.
so that's almost like an overdrive pedal. So you could have that on and then have that as like a drive.
Let's see what happens.
So,
right, so interestingly,
sound,
if you're not interested in using these extra switches on the EUNA, you can see actually, because this has got the buffer in it anyway, switching this on and off doesn't do anything unless you accentuate some of the settings, and then you can hear those settings as you switch them on.
This is awesome.
So
that sounds good, man. That's a proper.
It does sound good, doesn't it? I wonder, you know, we could obviously play a little bit more with
it's got
levels
lots
and
of output
presence.
on it, right?
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Pete. I'm guessing most of the drive we're hearing through engaging this is because of how hard we're hitting the front end of the amplifier.
I'm not sure. I mean, that's running pretty hot there, isn't it? But yeah, we are punching the front end of that, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, but it's still drivey.
It is.
It'll still drive 100 watts, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the OAMP.
Yeah.
Again, diving over to the Andertons website or the 29 pedal website for quite a few well-known YouTubers have done videos on these.
Yeah.
So the most recent one is the FLWR. So the third and final one is the FLWR, FLWR, presumably FLWR. And this is now in the remit of just a good old-fashioned, quite versatile overdrive pedal. So gain, level, and then 3 basic modes that we can mess around with here, or three sets of toggles that we can mess around with here. The cool news is on the Believable audio website,
believable or not,
we have some suggested settings. Ooh. So let's have a little play around with this. So it says a good place to start is 3BO. So 3BO, yeah, from Star Wars.
Or is it BO level 3?
At minimum gain and maximum level, okay, this is close to unity gain and relatively clean with a little low pass, and as you add gain it will warm up. So so much level coming out of these things, isn't it?
I mean, there's level for days in these pedals. You know what I really like? That these switches, you can't kick them with your feet.
This is very true.
It's very...
So higher gain starts at 2AO. So 2AO.
Wow, okay, that's...
I just spotted the decibel meter out the corner of my eye. Flip.
That's some old school Sabbathy. Yeah, exactly. That's like a... It's almost like some Laney tones from that, isn't there? Like.
So now we're going 1AO. We seem to be on O a lot of the time here, and this is fuzzy territory.
like there's like there's these overtones.
This next one, 3CO,
Sorry,
is saying great for leads and chord melodies and excellent for humbuckers. And
great,
the last
man.
suggested setting is 2BO, which is a medium crunchy sort of sound. Here we go.
Can we just remind ourselves what it sounded like just completely straight through?
The only thing that none of the suggested settings suggested changing the clip setting away from 0. So let's see what that one.
To be up in that section up there. For me, anyway.
Well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Crikey, I need to lie down now.
Yeah, no, it's like 4 videos in a day. It's pretty hardcore, but I tell you what, man, for pedal solutions, they're great. I mean, for pedal board solutions, that's what I meant to say.
This is the one that I've seen used the most. I mean, perhaps it's because it's been out for the longest, and I just see a lot of people. It's on the board, hidden underneath sometimes because they never switch it off. It's just always on. Yeah, it's good. It's good, man.
Yeah. We finally got around to it because we've had them sitting, but then we haven't had one in stock and we haven't the other one, and then
I think there's been a certain amount of fear on my part of doing this video because you're sort of going, oh gosh, are we going to be able to explain what it really does? And then I just decided one day it doesn't matter that I can't explain what they really do. We just turn them on and you can hear.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing how much that difference it makes with all of these meters of cables.
Well, there you are.
You know,
look, more information is on the Andertons website. Links will be below. As I said, there's loads of videos on all these pedals as well. So. Did we mention the pricing? I don't think we did.
No, but I always link below.
Always. They're not cheap, these things. I think the whole range is somewhere between the sort of £250 and the £300 mark. But half of me is thinking, you know, if you're chasing for tone and you've spent thousands on your guitar and your amp and your pedal board already, and this is just going to add that little bit of Salt Bay extra, 1% on the top, then hey ho.
And hey, it's not 150 grand for like a
steak.
Golden steak or something where he comes and does that and he carves it, and then that's 150. What was the bill somebody got recently?
I think it was 150 grand.
Something like that. Yeah. And they bought like, XO Patron, whatever, some kind of Louis blah 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 brandy. Yeah.
You could feed thousands of
he drinks it in his mouth and he spits it in your mouth.
Disgusting.
That's 150
it's immoral.
Grand. Anyway,
that's where we're going to end.
Exactly.
Right. Onwards and upwards. See you next time.